Metroidvania games are all about exploring and making a world feel like you are actually a part of it. But behind the scenes, a lot of systems need to work together to make that experience fun. I think Metroidvania games are so good that I decided to make one myself. I'll go over what makes a great Metroidvania and for each part show what I did in my game or where I fell short. My name is Jos and I make games. The best way to learn is by getting your hands dirty and actually making something. You only learn by making mistakes. So that's what I did. I made a Metroidvania game. I did so in 2 weeks, so therefore I made a lot of mistakes. I made this game because I'm participating in a multi-round game jam called GDKO, and this was my round 2 entry. And after submitting, I got feedback. A lot of feedback. Metroidvanias are games about discovery, so the world needs to invite players to explore. That's why my first improvement after the jam was fixing the visuals. A Metroidvania world should feel immersive, mysterious, and full of small details that reward exploration. Previously, my game looked like this. It feels kind of flat and for some elements in the game there's not enough contrast. Besides that, the world feels a bit repetitive. So, after I took a second attempt at making the graphics, the game now looks like this. I added some nice background, added a parallax effect to it and changed the contrast of some game elements to make the world more visually pleasing. If you now look at Snake Tower, it actually becomes worth exploring. Exploration should feel rewarding, not like a chore. Backtracking is important, it should be engaging and should serve a purpose. So, this is the map of my game. And this map was created by one of the other contestants in the game jam and shows the path they took while playing the game. There's a lot of going back and forth, so let's take a look at how long it takes to go from one side of the map to the other side of the map. This takes quite a long time. Just imagine you have to play Tunic or Hollow Knight without any fast traveling. So, I went back to the drawing board and created fast travel. I already had these checkpoints in the game, so this was the logical place to hook in fast travel. I'm actually very happy with the following mechanics since it works so seamlessly with the mechanics of the game. You can move your face into the checkpoint and then you are in some kind of different dimension where you can travel to the other checkpoints. Where you previously had to traverse the whole level, you can now be anywhere within seconds. This should reduce frustration. This way players can focus on the actual game, solving puzzles and exploring rather than spending time walking back and forth. In a Metroidvania, you're constantly unlocking new abilities and areas. Without a save system, you lose that sense of progression. Actually, this point is probably applicable for most games, but specifically for Metroidvanias, you want to be able to pick them up and take a break whenever you want, since it's highly unlikely that a player wants to finish the game in one sitting. No one wants to start from scratch every time, so I had to be creative here since the game is currently on itch.io and you cannot store files easily since there's a chance the files get lost. Therefore, I implemented a key code that shows up whenever you are at the checkpoint. You can note it down and whenever you open the game again you can enter the code and be back again. This is a must-have feature and now it's finally in the game. A Metroidvania lives or dies by its movement. And my movement definitely did not pass the test. I did some things to improve that though. Traversals should feel snappy and responsive. Therefore I made the falling and the moving faster, which is a very easy solution. Of course, for my game, there are a few boundaries since it's still a puzzle game. The best Metroidvanias feel effortless to play. Think about Hollow Knight's nail combat. It's fast, precise and every hit feels intentional. Great Metroidvania mechanics aren't just about what the player can do, but how smoothly they can do it. If something slows the game down unnecessarily, it takes away from the flow of exploration and discovery. This actually was one of the bigger complaints of my game, and it was about the projectile system. Basically, people think it felt weird and they had to go back and forth too much, which I agree with. Breaking blocks feels tedious, especially if you have to break a few in a row. So now I've changed the system so that one shot triggers all connected breakable blocks, which means less frustration, more fluid puzzle solving and better pacing. Instead of slowing the game down, projectiles now keep the momentum going. This small change makes a huge difference in how the game feels to play. Metroidvanias thrive on the joy of mastery. They make you lost at first, but as you learn, the world starts to open up. However, if the difficulty spikes too fast, that sense of mastery turns into frustration. Games like Hollow Knight and Tunic do this incredibly well. They don't tell you how to play, but they guide you subtly. Through level design, enemy encounters and environmental clues, I realized I was not doing this and I was introducing mechanics too quickly. So yeah, I need better pacing and change the way I introduce the mechanics. I added some in-game notes to give hints and guide players. I splitted some of the puzzles and made them easier. I hope this will make the player learn step by step, instead of them feeling stuck early on. Oh yeah, and some players did not know when they finished the game. So I also added some more clarity around that. The actual ending of the game is when you go back to Tutorial Tower. Let's take a look if my game made it to round 3. And I got some good news, because Shift Shape got 15 plays, which means I now have to make a game for round 3. By now, I'm seriously considering turning Shift Shape into a full game. If you want to follow the progress of Shift Shape, make sure to subscribe. While I'm working on my game for round 3, let me know in the comments, what do you think makes a Metroidvania great?